There are some crimes that haunt a town forever. Some stories that are so horrifying, so unthinkable, they shake a community to its core. This is one of them.
This is the Albuquerque Police Department. Make your presence known. Make your presence known now. Clear.
I already know what's happening.
Tell me what you think's happening.
No.
She said, I'm too old. Will you please kill me?
A quiet road in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. A smoldering pile in the dark. A burned mattress, still hot from the flames, and on it, a human body. Tied up, beaten, mutilated. A mouth frozen in a scream. A foot missing. A corpse left to burn under the night sky like someone wanted to erase every trace of it. But they didn't. They made mistakes, and those mistakes would come back to haunt them. This is the story of Marilyn Gandert, and this is how her own family betrayed her in the most brutal way imaginable. It was late, the kind of late where roads get quiet and the world feels a little different. The air was cold, and the sky stretched black over Rio Rancho, New Mexico. A woman was driving home from work, just like she had 100 times before. There was nothing unusual about the situation. It was just another night, another drive. But then, up ahead, something caught her eye. Right there on the road, something was smoldering. It wasn't big, but it was enough to send a small, dark cloud of smoke curling into the air. It glowed faintly, an eerie orange hue, like whatever it was had been burning just moments ago. The sight made her uneasy. It wasn't like she could tell what it was from inside her car. The headlights weren't great, and she wasn't about to stop to get a closer look. No way. Not in the dark. Not alone. She swerved around it, not taking any chances, kept driving. But it stuck with her, gnawing at her thoughts as she made it home. Once she walked through the door, she told her husband about it. They tossed around a few ideas, but none of them sat right. After a while, she shook it off and went to bed, trying to let it go. But by morning, sleep hadn't made her forget. If anything, it made her more curious. So she got in her car and drove back to where she had seen it. The sun was up now, shining down on that lonely stretch of road. She pulled over, got out, and walked closer. And then she saw it. The fire had scorched the mattress nearly to its core, leaving it blackened and warped. And on it, her stomach turned. A body. It didn't even seem real at first. It resembled a scene from a horror film. Her mind refused to accept what her eyes were seeing. But there it was. It was the head, the arms, the twisted, charred remains of a person. Then, as she took a step back, she saw something else. Something even more horrific. There were restraints. Metal. Wire. The person had been tied down. One arm was broken. The mouth was frozen open, twisted like it had been screaming. The foot was no longer there, just gone, cut clean off.
It is a disturbing discovery.
Her hands started to shake. The air felt different now, heavier, suffocating. Someone had died here. Someone had been left here, dumped like trash in a place where people would see. But why? She didn't have answers, but the police, they'd have questions. And so her husband dialed 911 immediately.
Sandoval County 911, what is the exact location of your emergency?
We think we found a body out here. It's in a road, and somebody had put it on like a mattress or something and burned it. And it looks like it has bones in it, and you can see intestines and guts, and I don't know. It's weird.
So while the police were dealing with the gruesome discovery in Rio Rancho, there was another story unfolding miles away in Albuquerque. Harry Gandert, 62 years old, had spent the past day or two trying to reach his sister, Marilyn. She wasn't the type to ignore calls, and she always made sure to get back to him. However, there had been no communication from her lately. No calls, no messages. just silence, and that silence was starting to weigh on him. He had spent hours calling friends, checking places she might have gone, hoping there was some explanation, but nothing made sense. The feeling in his gut told him something was off, and he wasn't about to ignore it.
And the more time passes that this person is gone, it could also mean that more time passes that they could be injured, harmed, or pass away.
He had left a note at her door the day before. It was still there, untouched. Her car sat in the driveway like it always did. If she had gone somewhere, how did she leave without her car? That didn't sit right with him. Something was off. He was sure of it. So he made the decision. He had to do something. He checked the house, trying to find a reason that would explain her absence. Nothing. The house was still, like it was waiting for her to come home. But Marilyn wasn't coming home.
Albuquerque Police, how can I help you?
Yes, this is Harry Gandert. I'm at my sister's house, and she's not here. And I haven't been able to get a hold of her, and she usually gets back to me because I call her every morning and night, and she has, and the phone has been offline.
Okay. And what's your sister's name?
Marilyn Gandert. But her vehicle's here, and that's how she travels. I mean, my note that I left yesterday is still in the door. I'm getting worried now.
Okay.
It's not a good day.
Marilyn had worked for the U.S. Postal Service for over 30 years. She was the kind of person people liked to be around. Calm, steady, the type who didn't let the little things get to her. Her co-workers loved her, and the people in her life admired her. Her brother thought she was the perfect sister, always there when he needed her, always reliable. But now she was gone, and there was no sign of where she went.
I answer the door. Her phone is like it goes directly to voice messaging. Okay. I left a note there yesterday. Okay. Still there. Okay. Her vehicle is here. Yeah, because I'm really nervous. She's got three. No, I don't. She doesn't have that many friends. She's like me, kind of solitary. Okay. But now my mind is going everywhere. But I got kidnapped.
I'm with you, sir.
Harry did what anyone would do. He reported her missing. But the truth was, he didn't have much to give the police. Marilyn lived alone. She didn't have a lot of close friends. She kept to herself. But there was one person who knew her better than most, Nancy Robinson. Nancy had worked with Marilyn at the post office for years. Over time, they became more than just co-workers. They were friends, real friends. They went to Bible study together, celebrated birthdays, and spent time with each other's families. Marilyn had lost a lot in her life, her husband years ago, and then, even worse, her only child. Her son Ryan had died in the most tragic way. He had played Russian roulette and lost. A single bullet, a single moment. It was over. Marilyn never got over it. How could she? He was her only child, and just like that, he was gone. She kept his ashes in a pendant around her neck. Every morning, she woke up at the exact time he had died. It wasn't just grief. It was something deeper, something heavier. But despite that weight, she kept going. She still had family. She still had her daughter-in-law, Alyssa, and Ryan's son, Drake. She loved them both. She tried to be a grandmother to Drake, a mother to Alyssa. She held on to them like they were the last pieces of Ryan she had left.
Are you worried about Marilyn too?
Yeah.
I haven't get a hold of her for a couple of days, and it's just not like her.
No, it isn't.
So have you gone in? Did you have a key?
No, I don't have a key.
Do you have a key?
No.
No? Okay.
But the dogs are barking.
Nancy had noticed something wasn't right, too. The last time she heard from Marilyn, something just felt off. At first, she brushed it aside. Maybe Marilyn was busy. Maybe she just needed space. But by the next night, that uneasy feeling had settled deep in her chest. Marilyn always responded fast. Calls, texts, it didn't matter. But now, nothing. The worry built up until it was too much. By Sunday morning, Nancy couldn't ignore it anymore. She left her house in her pajamas, didn't even think twice. She had to find Marilyn. Something was wrong. She just knew it.
I'm gonna go inside, okay?
best friend.
I understand that, but there might be somebody in there. Come over here. I'm gonna wait for another officer. We're gonna go inside, and then we'll get everything taken care of. I just don't want you to be getting hurt, okay?
Residents, the Albuquerque Police Department, coming inside. You need to make your presence known. Now come to the front door with your hands open and empty. Do it now.
Ready? I'm gonna keep long to the danger zone of the kitchen, and then just gonna cover right side by side to the right.
The police started their search with Marilyn's house. The moment they got there, something didn't sit right. Her back door, wide open. But inside, everything looked normal. No signs of struggle, no mess, just an empty house. But then they saw something that made their stomachs sink. Her keys. They were hanging right on the front doorknob. Who leaves their house without their keys? Then they moved on to another property, one that Marilyn owned but wasn't living in. It was the house she had been renting out to Alyssa. Alyssa, Nancy, and Harry, they all knew Marilyn wouldn't just vanish. Something had happened to her. They just didn't know what.
Hi.
Hi, can you come on out a second?
Yeah.
So, what's going on?
I'm moving out.
Okay, what's your name?
Alyssa.
And the owner knows you're here getting
Yeah,
your stuff?
she on Friday, she said come on Saturday morning and get the key.
Did I see those texts?
I mean,
It just clears a few things up for us.
no, that's fine. I said I'm going to come by in about an hour for the keys. I don't have, like, the okay, but I told her when I am. And see, she wasn't answering me, but she doesn't always answer me.
So the last one you got from her
was at 10:35 on the 26th. That was the Friday.
And meanwhile, back in Rio Rancho, a woman was standing over a burned, mangled body on the side of the road. She had no idea who it was, but soon everyone would. Not long after Marilyn was reported missing, a call came in to Sandoval County 911. A man on the other end of the line sounded rattled. Out on Encino and Northern, someone had found something horrifying. A body, or at least what was left of one, burned on top of a mattress, discarded like garbage. The police wasted no time. When they arrived, the smell of burnt flesh still hung in the air. The body was charred beyond recognition, but one thing was clear. Whoever this person was, they had suffered. The officers immediately questioned the people who found it. One of them described how she saw the smoke first, then realized something was burning in the middle of the road. She didn't dare get closer. The whole thing felt wrong, like someone was watching. It didn't take long before she and her friend decided to get out of there. The scene was too disturbing to stay. It was the worst thing they had ever seen in their lives, and they couldn't stop picturing it. The lifeless body, the gruesome burns, the way the intestines hung from the remains. It made everyone sick.
229. So when I get there, I'll give you Latin long if it is what we think it is.
I don't know, man. Like it looks like it has ribs and cheese in there.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if it's real or.
Yeah, it's creepy.
It might be exactly what we think it is. So
the news spread fast. A burned body in Rio Rancho wasn't something that stayed quiet for long. Detectives in Albuquerque took notice, especially those looking into Marilyn's disappearance.
That evening, we put out that we had discovered these remains and hoping that we would get tips from the public as far as missing persons. We probably received 50 phone calls, but the call from Nancy was very specific. Nancy was very concerned that her friend, who had been reported missing, was the deceased person. It would fit our timeline and gave me hope that this was actually the person that we had found. After autopsy, I contacted the Office of the Medical Investigator and provided them with the dentist of Miss Gandert. They were able to confirm that the decedent on the mattress was Marilyn Gandert.
The 65-year-old postal worker was dead, and not just dead, murdered in one of the most brutal ways imaginable.
Hi, are you Harry? Uh-huh. Hi, I'm Detective Apodaca.
So I told you I was going to keep you up to date as to everything that's going on.
The body that she suspected in Rio Rancho, the burned one, was positively identified as Marilyn.
Oh, God.
Why don't you have a seat, sir?
Yeah, sit down.
I am so sorry we have to come and bring you this news.
Harry, I'm so sorry.
From there, the investigation shifted gears. It was no longer about finding Marilyn. It was about finding who had done this to her and why. Homicide detectives got to work, trying to piece together what had happened in her final hours. An autopsy revealed Marilyn had been beaten and stabbed before she died. The burns came later, after she was already gone. Someone had taken her body, placed it on a mattress, doused her in gasoline, and set her on fire. She had ligature marks on her wrists and ankles. Someone had tied her up, bound her, either before or during the murder. But there were no signs of sexual assault. Detectives needed to figure out where it had happened. They searched Marilyn's home, hoping to find evidence, but there was nothing. No struggle, no blood. It was clear she hadn't been killed there. So they turned to another property, one Marilyn owned but wasn't living in. It was a house she had rented to her daughter-in-law, Alyssa.
Okay.
But she was here that day, and we were hanging out.
Do you know where she would be right now?
I don't, and that's
because somebody's trying to report her as missing. Because Marilyn is being entered as a missing person, they want us to do a walkthrough on this house.
Okay, that's fine. Perfectly fine. I have no problem.
I appreciate it, Alyssa. It's a box to check.
At this point, one thing was certain. Whoever had taken Marilyn's life had made a mistake, because now the police were closing in, and they weren't going to stop until they found answers. The investigation was heating up. Detectives arrived at the house Alyssa was renting, but she wasn't expecting them.
Right, where are you moving to?
Oh, no.
This one?
I had it a little close, so I was trying to... I'm getting there. You can open that door if you want. That's a closet.
Alyssa wasn't thrilled about the idea of cops digging through her things, but she had no choice. While officers moved forward with the warrant, she was taken in for questioning. That's when she got the news. Marilyn's body had been found. She looked shocked. She claimed she didn't know Marilyn was dead. When asked how she heard the news, she explained a detective had told her. Then the questions came fast. How did she know Marilyn? What was their relationship like? Alyssa called Marilyn her mother-in-law, explaining that she had been married to Marilyn's son, Ryan. They had been together for 23 years, but Ryan had been gone since 2014. He had taken his own life, shooting himself right in front of her. Alyssa said her relationship with Marilyn had been okay, at least before Ryan's death. After that, things became strained. Marilyn blamed her, saying she should have left Ryan, that if she had, maybe he wouldn't have done it. Furthermore, Marilyn let Alyssa stay in the house she and Ryan had once shared, but it wasn't a free ride. Marilyn expected rent, and that's where the real problem started.
She asked for rent, and they would pay maybe for 1 month, and then they stopped. And they never were consistent, so she finally evicted them.
Alyssa didn't keep up with payments. At first, Marilyn was patient. She tried to work with her, but eventually she had enough. She started the eviction process. When officers initially spoke with Alyssa, she never mentioned the eviction. She just said she was moving out. That was a red flag for detectives. Alyssa explained she had struggled financially. When Ryan was alive, he didn't let her work. After he was gone, she had to figure things out. She got a job, but it wasn't always steady. Marilyn wasn't unsympathetic, but she wasn't going to support Alyssa forever. She wanted to retire. She needed Alyssa to step up, but Alyssa didn't. The rent never came in like it was supposed to. Marilyn gave her chances, but eventually, enough was enough. Alyssa wasn't alone in the house. She lived with her son, Drake, and a close friend, Annie. Annie had moved in after going through a divorce. She and Alyssa had been friends for about a year before that. She had met Marilyn a few times. The relationship between Marilyn and Alyssa wasn't great, but Annie had seen them get along before. Marilyn even brought them food for the holidays, but other times it was clear that things were tense. Nancy, Marilyn's best friend, had a different perspective. She knew Marilyn was at her breaking point. She had done everything she could for Alyssa. She had supported her and her son for years. But after Ryan's death, she wanted things to change. She needed Alyssa to contribute. But instead of stepping up, Alyssa grew angry. Alyssa had an attitude about it. She acted like Marilyn had turned her back on them, but Marilyn wasn't being unreasonable. She just needed to look after herself for once. She wanted to move on, to sell the house, but Alyssa wasn't making that easy. Despite the conflict, Alyssa claimed she had come to terms with the eviction. She said she accepted it and was just focused on moving out. She insisted there was no bad blood. But then detectives learned something strange. Marilyn had changed the locks on the house, yet Alyssa still had a key.
I want to get my things out first.
Nobody can go back until the search warrant's completed. You gotta understand.
I know, but I want my clothes and I want to go to my hotel and I want to sleep. My back hurts. I'm tired of moving.
I understand. All right.
I just want my clothes, that's all. Because she said she goes to work on Monday.
Okay.
Okay. That she wanted to take the weekend. She's like, come over in the morning and get the keys.
So she's telling you to come over in the morning and get the keys from her. And that was the last time you spoke to her?
No.
Okay.
I went on Saturday morning to pick up the keys.
So it went over to...
Around 10 o'clock. And I just knock on the door, get the keys. She says, give them to me on Sunday. And that's all we said. That was it. Not even another word.
According to Alyssa, Marilyn had given it to her. She said she trusted her to finish moving out. That made no sense. Why would Marilyn, who was evicting her, hand her the new house keys? Alyssa even had text messages to back up her story, but Nancy wasn't buying it. When she saw the messages, she knew something was wrong. That wasn't Marilyn. Marilyn wouldn't have said that. Something wasn't adding up, and the more detectives dug, the more suspicious Alyssa looked. The eviction, the money, the tension, it all pointed to something much darker. Marilyn had been trying to take back control of her life, and now she was gone. As detectives kept pressing Alyssa, her story started to fall apart. The idea that Marilyn would go through all the trouble of evicting her, change the locks, and making sure everything was legally in place, only to hand Alyssa the keys and let her back in unsupervised made no sense, and the police knew it. Alyssa insisted she had gotten the keys from Marilyn, but when detectives mentioned that Marilyn's friends and family said otherwise, she started to stumble. She tried to explain, saying Marilyn had let her in at first because she was worried the house would get damaged. But then, just like that, she supposedly trusted her enough to leave her alone with access to everything. It didn't add up.
She's the last person who would have thought anything like this would happen. That's the movies, you know. Or drug dealers or something like that. She's a regular person, a male person.
What was Marilyn's routine?
She was like me, solitary.
She liked to stay home?
By herself, yeah. She had just a few friends like Nancy.
Did she rarely leave the house?
Yeah, I can't think of what she was doing. Oh, I think right now she was going with the process of eviction, getting things started with moving. Alyssa lies all the time, and you know, she would promise to pay the rent and didn't. And she just got tired this time, and I told her, well, maybe you should evict her.
What was her relationship like with Alyssa?
It was curt.
Were her and Alyssa close?
Frenemy.
More frenemies than...
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there was the timeline problem. Alyssa swore she saw Marilyn on Saturday morning when she picked up the key. But there was one major issue with that. Marilyn had already been dead by Friday night. The woman who had found her burned body on the back road in Rio Rancho had seen it before Saturday even began. That meant one of two things. Alyssa was lying, or she had somehow gotten her days mixed up. When confronted with this, she quickly changed her story. No, actually, it was Friday when she last saw Marilyn. Not Saturday, Friday.
I said I'm going to come by in about an hour for the keys. I don't have, like, the okay, because, like, but I told her when I am. And see, she wasn't answering me, but she doesn't always answer me.
So the last one you got from her
was at 10:35 on the 26th. That was the Friday.
Okay.
But she was here that day, you know, and we were hanging out.
Detectives weren't buying it. Sure, questioning could be stressful, and people might mix up details under pressure. But this wasn't a small mistake. It was a lie, one that completely unraveled under scrutiny. And there was something else, something far worse that Alyssa couldn't explain. Blood.
This is the Albuquerque Police Department. Make your presence known. Make your presence known now.
Okay, is anybody else in the house? No. All right, step up on me. Okay, so this is the situation, okay? We actually have to secure the house.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get all my stuff out.
Okay.
Like,
all right, so unfortunately, I can't let you go back inside.
I have things in there.
Unfortunately, I can't.
When police searched the house Alyssa had been living in, they found Marilyn's blood. It wasn't just a few drops here and there. It was in Annie's room, on the carpet, and even on the walls. The moment detectives brought it up, Alyssa clammed up. She said she didn't know why Marilyn's blood would be in the house. There was no reason, she said. None at all. That wasn't a good answer. It wasn't even close to a good answer. But if Marilyn was never harmed in that house, why was her blood there? Who had cleaned up the mess? Because someone had tried, but they didn't do a great job. The cops could still see spatter on the walls, small but noticeable.
Tell me about her. She. Tell me about her.
I don't know her. I don't know a whole lot.
Did you meet Marilyn at all last week?
Yeah, so she was here when we were
she
moving
was?
stuff.
Okay. Tell me what she was doing here.
She was in her vehicle. She was in and out of the house. She was nagging everybody, telling us like how to move out. And
really?
And then she came at me and she said that, you know, this is your fault. You know why they're getting evicted, right? Because of you. This is weird. Like
I know.
I don't like.
Okay.
I already know what's happening.
Tell me what you think's happening.
No, like I just don't like the way I'm being approached and questioned.
And now, Alyssa was looking more and more like she knew something she wasn't telling them. The pressure mounted. Detectives weren't letting up. They told her straight. This was a murder investigation, and they knew she wasn't being honest. They wanted the truth, and she wasn't giving it to them. Alyssa shifted in her seat. She was cornered. She admitted that yes, she had originally said she saw Marilyn on Saturday night, but that wasn't true. She had wanted to see Marilyn that morning. She thought she saw her, but really, the last time was Friday. But the detectives weren't buying that either. They pointed out that she was only changing her story now because they had caught her in a lie. Still, Alyssa denied having anything to do with Marilyn's murder. She kept repeating it. She did nothing to her. She didn't know who did. None of them did. But the evidence was saying something very different. The detectives had hit a wall with Alyssa, so they turned their attention to her son, Drake. He had been evicted along with his mother and was now living in a small motel room with his girlfriend. The investigators found him there and started asking about the last time he saw his grandmother.
When's the last time you talked to your grandma?
I would say 3 or 4 days ago. My grandmother was telling my mother that we were getting kicked out, so then I was helping her move out.
How did that make your mom feel?
Oh, she was pretty upset.
Yeah.
She was really upset.
Where's grandma?
She was not there yet. She had shown up later. We were moving stuff out, and then she had shown up. But then, the first time I saw my grandma, Annie and my mom and my grandma were there.
Drake insisted he hadn't. Nothing seemed strange to him. He left, met up with his mom later, and as far as he could tell, things were normal. But detectives weren't so sure. Alyssa's story wasn't lining up, and now they need to know if Drake had any idea what his mother had been hiding.
So, your grandma, we found her, but she's dead.
Where at?
Well, we believe that it's suspicious. Okay, we think someone killed her.
When?
And I'm really sorry.
Okay.
How does that make you feel?
That makes me feel sad. Very sad.
During a follow-up interview, Drake said something that left detectives speechless. He admitted that his grandmother had told him she wanted to die. She had told him she was too old, too tired. She wanted it to end. Detectives didn't know what to make of it. Was this an attempt to shift the blame? A desperate excuse? They asked Drake straight. Did he do what she asked? Did he kill his own grandmother? Drake hesitated. Then he said yes. He told them Marilyn had been depressed. She was tired of working. She wanted it over with. He said he respected her wishes. He carried it out. The confession stunned the room, but there was no way it was that simple. Drake claimed responsibility, but detectives knew there was more to it. Alyssa and Annie were still in the picture, and there was no way Drake had done this alone. Drake was arrested, but the investigation wasn't over. Detectives weren't satisfied with his confession. It felt off, and soon they'd find out why. It turned out that Marilyn's murder wasn't just the act of one person. Alyssa, Annie, and Drake had all been involved. After relentless questioning, the truth started to surface. Alyssa and Annie were hiding behind Drake's confession, hoping it would end there. But the evidence told a different story. In June of 2018, Drake was formally charged with the murder of Marilyn Gandert. His confession had given detectives enough to make an arrest, but they weren't stopping there. They wanted justice. They needed to know the full truth. Drake was pressed for more details, but he refused to give them without an attorney. The detectives could see it. He was holding back. He knew something he wasn't saying.
I wrote a warrant for you for the homicide of your grandma. So I'm actually charging you with the homicide of your grandma.
Okay.
Okay? I've already had your mom, your mom's arrested.
Yeah.
And Annie is arrested.
Okay.
Okay? So I have enough probable cause to believe that you were involved in the homicide of your grandma.
How so? Oh yeah, you're the detective.
I am the detective.
I'm gonna tell you the honesty.
Okay.
My grandmother said, I'm too old. Will you please kill me? Multiple times, drunk and sober.
Okay.
That is honestly.
So you're saying that at some point your grandma asked you to kill her?
Yeah.
So do you remember that date?
I don't remember the date, but that's what she
Maybe
wanted.
not the actual date. I'm not asking you for the date, but can we go back to that date in your memory and tell me what happened?
I was there and then she would be like depressed,
Right.
And she for certain said that. I know she said that.
Okay.
So I did.
understand.
I passed her away. You know what I'm saying?
So how did you do it?
Just essentially. That's it. That's all the information without a lawyer or a public defender I'd like to share.
The media latched onto it. A grandson claiming he killed his own grandmother because she wanted to die. It didn't make sense, and the detectives didn't buy it. Meanwhile, they turned their focus back to Alyssa and Annie. If Drake had done this alone, then how did Marilyn's blood end up all over Annie's truck? Why were her purse, her medications, and even the keys to her car found in the back of it? And what about the blood in Annie's room? None of it added up. When questioned, Annie denied everything, but she was nervous. Detectives told her they had surveillance footage of her truck near the location where Marilyn's body had been dumped. They asked why she had been there, what she was doing out in Rio Rancho. She had no good answer. Then they told her they were searching her truck. Was there any reason Marilyn's DNA would be in it? Annie confidently said no. That was a mistake. They found Marilyn's blood in the truck bed, along with her personal belongings. There was no way Annie didn't know what had happened. The walls were closing in, and detectives knew it was only a matter of time before she broke. By May of 2018, the case had reached its breaking point. The detectives had built a solid case, and there was no escaping justice. Alyssa Bickett was officially arrested and charged with the murder of Marilyn Gandert. Not long after, her friend Annie Rael found herself facing the same fate. The moment Annie sat in the interrogation room, the officer across from her laid it out plain and simple. She was being arrested for Marilyn's murder. The charges weren't light: murder, conspiracy to commit murder, tampering with evidence, and conspiracy to tamper with evidence. Annie barely reacted. Maybe she already knew what was coming. In the months that followed, the weight of their crimes must have sunk in. Both Alyssa and Annie finally decided to talk. But their stories didn't exactly match.
So Marilyn, she's sitting in her car, and then she was coming in because she needed to use the restroom. But Drake is like, look at my mom. This is our house. Can't we just stay here one more night in our own beds? And she said no. And so he was crying, and he left out the back door. I stayed in my room. And at that point, I did hear Marilyn yell. And I went out there, and Annie is on her back. She's on the ground.
So Marilyn's on the ground,
Marilyn's on the ground, and Annie's got her knee in her back.
Oh, she has her knee in her back.
Mhm.
Okay. What is Annie doing to Marilyn?
Hitting Marilyn's face. And so I'm kind of panicking, but I'm mad, and I did hit Marilyn. I tied up her hands and legs, and I helped her put this bag over her head.
Do you remember what you did it with? What you tied her up with?
Yeah, it was like phone cords and stuff like that. Then there's other one that Annie gets, put it around her neck, and I hear it snap, but I don't know if it's the cord. I'm just like, I gotta go.
So you heard something snap, whether it was the cord or Marilyn's neck.
Right.
You're not sure.
Marilyn was struggling, but she never had a chance. Alyssa admitted to tying Marilyn's hands and legs with phone cards. Then Annie tightened something around her neck. According to Alyssa, what happened next was a blur. Marilyn had had enough. Alyssa and Annie didn't want to lose the home that had been given to them for free for so long. And in that moment, with emotions boiling over, they did something that couldn't be undone. At least, that's what Alyssa wanted them to believe. Then came Annie's confession. Annie had no reason to protect Alyssa, and her version of events made things much worse.
So, and then when Drake got there, we all were in Alyssa's room getting high. That's pretty much when Alyssa, she had brought it up before about killing Marilyn. I still didn't think we were gonna do it. I thought she was joking. She just told me when she nods, because she would pretend that she was the Don, like the Godfather. She just told me when I nod, get her. And Marilyn was coming in. Drake was like, can you just let us stay? Look at my mom packing. She was like, no. Alyssa looked at me and Drake and nodded, and I looked at Drake, and he started walking behind Marilyn, and I got Marilyn and from behind and took her down.
This version made more sense. Alyssa had tried to protect her son, make it seem like he wasn't involved. But Annie had no loyalty to him. She told the police exactly what happened. It wasn't a moment of rage. It was cold, calculated, and planned.
Drake was on the side of me and Alyssa. She ran into the room and came out with a short little bat thing, and Drake got on top of her. I think I yelled at Alyssa to get something to cover her mouth. I had gotten another cord and put it around her neck to strangle her, and Drake pulled it with me and it broke, and then Drake grabbed my knife, and that's when he started stabbing her. I went at it a bunch of times and I yelled, and I grabbed the knife from him. He had already cut her throat.
Detectives finally had their answer. Marilyn's murder was deliberate. Alyssa had orchestrated it. Annie and Drake had helped carry it out. When prosecutors took over, the three of them had no real choice. The evidence was overwhelming. They all pleaded guilty.
I don't think that, Drake's upbringing is going to excuse his behavior on this incident when he did to his grandmother.
Alyssa received a 30-year sentence. Drake, who had done his mother's bidding, got 26 years. Annie, for her cooperation, was sentenced to 12 years.
Together, Alyssa Bickett, Drake Bickett, and Miss Friel attacked Miss Gandert. Together, as accomplices and co-conspirators, they beat and stabbed her, tied her arms and legs, and put a bag over her head.
For Marilyn's family, there was no true justice. Her brother Harry never forgets what happened to his sister. He lived with the knowledge that her last moments had been filled with fear and pain.
Miss Gandert seemed to be living a normal life, and tragedy happened.
It just makes your mind think, how could people be so cruel out here?
It just was unbelievable for us at work.
Marilyn had opened her home and her life to Alyssa. And when the time came for Alyssa to stand on her own, she refused. Instead, she made a horrifying choice. She manipulated her own son into killing the grandmother who had cared for him. And in the end, she got exactly what she wanted. A place to live, food to eat, all provided for her. But now, her home was a prison cell. And for the next 30 years, she wouldn't have to worry about rent ever again.